Welcome to the Damascus Encounter, your interesting program where we share people's experiences and how they encountered Jesus. On the program today, we have a guest who has been with us the last edition of the program, Pastor Edy Ewoh, who is president of Cross River Conference in Nigeria. Pastor Edy, welcome once again.
Thank you.
So, you talked about getting interested, now seeing some sense in what the church was talking about, the level of organization, and some sort of sincerity. You want to take it up from there?
Yeah. So I was convinced that these people were actually legitimate, open-hearted.
Okay, why? Because of the questions you asked,
Yeah,
the answers
because I asked questions, not just to one individual.
Okay.
I met almost all the members of the team with same questions. Now, the sincerity in the answers, were just too much for me to downplay.
Okay.
They all seem to be consistent.
Okay.
They may not explain in the same words,
same way.
but the ideas are just, aligning. So they talked about baptism, and I said, well, I went into very serious argument about getting baptized. No, when I'm ready, I will. I remember one of the pastors telling me, you don't need to be ready. It is Jesus who makes you ready. Baptism is just an acceptance and the willingness to allow change happen in you. Oh, so, okay. Okay, so the day I took the form to fill for baptism, wow, more than half of the class, stood up, and I was like, wow. Oh, were they all waiting on me? Okay. So I just went in, got baptized. That was November 1998. So by March, I indicated interest.
March of 1999?
1999.
Okay.
I indicated interest to join Pastor Udo's team. By the way, he was the one who conducted that event.
Okay, the evangelistic campaign.
Yes. So I joined his team to a community somewhere in northern Cross River. So when we got there, 3 weeks, there was baptism. Somehow the people requested that I stay behind. So that was the days where when pioneering, church planting was without pay, so he just survived. And I'll tell you plainly that my father was excited. My parents didn't have problem with me.
Were you getting baptized, joining the church?
Because one thing that was very clear was that, hey, this one, nobody knows what is becoming of this human being, but if there's a church
that can change him,
can hold this man, then that church must be more than ordinary. And for that, my father sponsored my programs when I went for that pioneering thing.
Okay.
So one day, I went out on visitation. That's like after about 3 months. I went to visit people, and I entered into one compound with one of our church members who had lived there for a long time.
Okay.
I spotted a young man. So I ran away. So this brother of mine was wondering why I behaved that way. So he came after me. I went straight home and I packed my things. I was leaving. So he came in. What is the problem? I was like, hey, I'm going. Why? What happened? I said, no, I can't stay here 1 minute. So he was just pushing, and he said, what is it that God cannot do? I said, no, 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 this one, God cannot do it. You know, what is the problem? Somehow he put me on the spot, and I had to tell him what happened. We're in school together. I went with a friend of mine to visit his girlfriend. And so while we were there,
you were in school together with the man that you saw,
yeah, the
that
man
made
that I
you
saw,
want to leave.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So I was sitting with my friend at his girlfriend's place when this young man came in, brushed over my leg, my foot. I'm like, what is it? I would expect someone to turn around and say, hey, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
You know, but he behaved as if what he did was intentional. And I also knew too well he was a member of a fraternal group, different, you know.
Different from yours.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, that was not a thing I should just take lightly. So I left the place and laid an ambush somewhere waiting for him. So when he came, I had a machete on my hand. So my intention was to chop off his neck. So when I went out for him, I was going for his neck.
Chop off as in behead him?
Yes. And I went with the speed that will help me achieve, if not 100%, I should have it between 50 to 60%. So.
Of his head?
Of his head. Take it off, you know. So he ducked. That was when that machete ended on his face and blew out his eyes. I mean, his left eye. You know. So I was just on him, you know. Somehow he escaped, and that was the last time he was in school. So here I was in his own village, in his own house.
Compound.
You know. So
did he recognize you?
Yeah, he did.
And what did he say?
Yeah, I ran away. I ran away. So this brother of ours maintained that there is nothing God cannot do. I say, oh, brother, not this one. Because already, you know, usually back then, I wouldn't walk alone. I will always be in company of at least 5, because it would be risky to have me, you know, just walking alone. So somehow he persuaded me. I don't know how he succeeded. I still think God was in the picture, you know. So he persuaded me, and he engaged a reconciliation. I didn't believe.
Between both of you?
Yes, I didn't believe it was going to work. But at this point, one thing that made me follow him to that reconciliation was that I had already made up my mind. Anything that will kill me, okay, if I am dying, let me die, because the is or was, I think there still is, this feeling that, hey, I think I can die happy. So the fear of dying was not there, and so if I die now, I think I'm in shape with God. So so what is there? Whatever it would, the highest that it would take, it would just be dying. So we went. I was surprised at the guy after all the talks, because I refused to say anything. There was nothing I could say. I had already called myself guilty, you know.
And you could see the left eyes were permanently out.
Out. His face disfigured, you know. So, but at the end of that, you know, exercise, he said, well, I hold nothing against you, I forgive you. It was as if something was dropping out of my body.
But did you believe him?
Well, I believed him in skepticism.
Okay.
Well, is he saying this to let everything just go and then he comes back?
Exactly.
Well, whatever happens, well, he has forgiven me. I believe him. I took his word, and a follow-up on that helped me believe the more, because now I worked with him to reconcile with other members of his group, because there were very many in school those days, So that was when I had my confirmation that, wow, then this is where I must be.
I need to be.
And every young person that is close to me must know about this God. Must know about this God.
Who can bring about such turnaround
Yes.
in your life and
Yes.
reconciliation
Yes.
between you and him. So, you stayed back in the same village?
Yes.
And you worked with this young man or friend of yours?
Yes.
Who?
I worked with him to be able to reconcile with other friends of his group, and I started conducting revelation seminars, and they were always in attendance. They would come. And one of the things that marveled them was when the discussion about drinking and smoking
Comes up.
when that discussion comes up, you could see their pain, their frustration, their inability to hands off a thing that is destroying them. So how did you do this? So I had an opportunity of sharing, and that also helped them understand I was genuine, because they saw some kind of difference, It was a fantastic experience. Then after that reconciliation, I didn't stay, I can't remember staying there up to a month. The next thing was a call to go to somewhere in Akwa Ibom, and that was how I left that community. And I was just imagining all the while, I had been there for over 3 months, but just about the last few weeks, this whole thing unveiled, and after that, boom, I was gone, So I was convinced that, wow, this is the spot for me.
That was the reason why God brought you there.
Yeah.
And it was a very significant one.
Yes, I believe that.
Okay, we'll come back and share a little more on some of the things you've been able to do, having become Christian, baptized Seventh-day Adventist, and also a pastor, and of course how you got your training. Don't go away, we'll be back with Pastor Edy Ewoh in a short while. Welcome back to the Damascus Encounter. We have Pastor Edy Ewoh in the house, who is president of the Cross Rivers Conference here in Nigeria. Pastor Edy, so you got baptized, you met this man, reconciliation was done, and then ministry began. Today you are a pastor. How did you get your pastoral training?
So my decision to get every young person, by my new religion, helped me to reach out. And before long, the mission then, especially with the evangelist who is the person of Pastor Basi Udo, took a special interest in my works.
All right.
Put it that way, So he knew that I had my way of talking with young people. Why I do not talk with this sense of pride that I have been on the good side with God. No, I come with how far, how deplorable I had been, and why I am where I am
You are today.
today, and that usually moves people.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, usually it does. Now, the way you handle people who are people you consider vulnerables, people you consider outcasts, those ones that God has forgotten, as we used to behave. We don't say it, but we behave like that.
Like as if they are lost.
Yeah, so they are irredeemable. So, and I believe even today that if there was one irredeemable fellow living, that person is me. And so if God went out of his way to save me, then there is nobody he cannot save. So I go looking for those nobodies. And it used to be very fruitful. It has been. So it was at that point he asked me if I would be interested in going into ministry full time. This was 2000, the ending part of the year 2000. Yes.
Okay.
So when an opening came, he asked me to apply. I did. So in 2001, I was, I was employed. So it's been like that since then. I have also decided to keep my ministry with the vulnerables, the outcasts,
And the young people.
and the young people. Because if you consider like Eric Erickson, looked at personality development to be predetermined by psychosocial conditions or developments, looking at the different ages. I sit back to look at how I grew up. I have a vivid memory of my growing up, my experiences as a child. I can point out events in the whole of the 45 years I have lived. I can identify events from, say, age 5, 6, thereabout.
Okay.
I can picture out. So it is easier for me to see the skeleton of my life and how this whole thing played out. I have seen instances where I should not be alive, but God kept me, and it is now I understand He kept me for this moment, for just the things I do. And so I'm interested in almost everything that will help a child not run the path
That you traveled.
that I traveled. If I can stop you, I will do everything to stop you.
So, as a pastor, are there things you see in young people today that are like a prompt, or that prompts you? You see it and you say, "Hey, this guy might be headed,"
Yeah.
and then you.
A lot of time.
Okay.
A lot of time.
And I know you have also you have all sorts of, you've done all sorts with young
Yes,
people. You want
yes.
to mention some of those?
In fact,
Ministry.
looking at these problems, I know that as a church, we are unintentional about retaining our young people. And that thing we miss out is a reason they leave. We treat everybody with the same pill. For me, no. There are different strokes for different folks, So I decided as a local church pastor to regroup. I know that the church has done so much with the youth ministries and all these intervention programs. Oh, wonderful. But one problem we have is we exercise these things for exercising a project or a program for the program's sake. But for me, no. These programs should be created in the context of what is happening around
in a particular environment.
Yes. So for that, I decided to group my church members into specific groupings that will help us address their issues. So, age 0 to 6, I leave you to your mother, to
let parents take care of that.
Take care of them. But from 6 to 12, I group them up, and the other thing I do is when I put them into this grouping, I want to take elements from the advertising, make publicity as to strategically brand you into a group so that you feel okay to belong there, and it's been working. So from ages 6 to 12, I call them Child of Destiny. Child of Destiny. So they have their own program that will meet their needs specifically for them. So the age 13 to 19, I call them Teens Things, and I brand their program Teens Things.
Okay.
That
sounds interesting.
TENZ and THINGZ.
Oh, okay.
Right.
GZ.
Things.
Okay.
Just assign some colors to it, and they identify themselves with those colors, And then for ages 20 to 39, group them all, and I call them 20s and 30s. Their meetings are always with fun, plenty of fun, And then it used to be 20s and 30s, single and married, but somehow there is a group that we neglect. Before young people get married, we do marriage counseling, and the moment we finish, we shut down on that chapter when the real job is actually beginning.
Okay. We encourage them to get married, and then we look away from them.
We look away and look for who's coming next. So for them, I have intimacy one-on-one. It's been very powerful, and some older couples also used to enjoy it. And the moment we finish, their package is always very heavy, and we must end it, especially if we're doing the yearly kind of convention, apart from the every week interaction. Now, every year, they gather,
coming together of everybody.
And at the end of that gathering, we do a marriage renewal. They renew their vows, and plenty of fun.
So this is for those within the age bracket of...
This one is just fresh couples, but we accommodate older folks. Yes. Okay. So now I also discover that we have crisis with our teenagers.
Okay.
And we never agree. So how do we help the church and the church members understand that age is not what you would win if you want to fight? There's no fight that has been successful.
You don't fight the teenagers.
No, you don't.
You walk with them.
You walk with them. And because of that, we came up with what I called easy parenting. Easy parenting is supposed to mean that as a parent, you have the privilege of becoming a teenager twice in your life.
Okay.
First, as a teenager, and second, as a parent of a teenager. So if you were a teenager, now you are a parenting.
Okay.
So it will require that you become a teenager to be able to deal with your
teenage child. Okay.
So that the idea is, do not plan to fight to stop the teenager, because you will never win
the battle.
I don't need someone else to tell me. I talk from experience. But if you become a parenting dealing with a teenager, it is easier to work with them. They also will find it convenient to cooperate with you to navigate
because they can relate with you
through these waters, you know. And when that happens, what you will succeed in doing is not to stop him or her from being a teenager, but you would have reduced the risks that come with that age. If the risk is 100% and you succeed from your being a parentine to cut off 99, you have reduced it.
Yeah,
you know.
certainly. Wow.
And I think that's where we are.
Yeah, that's quite a journey, I must admit. And I'm sure if we had all the time in the world, you will go on and on sharing with us the beautiful things God has done for you and has done in your life. Now, if you were just to speak in one sentence to young people how to ride on in life, what would be your one sentence?
Simple. You can go nowhere without God. You cannot hide from him. You can't run away from him. You can be nothing without him. Your present achievements without God are simply a waste of time, because there's nothing you own here that will take you beyond here.
Okay.
When you die, you leave everything here.
Yeah.
What's important is what life you make after you die.
Okay, you can go nowhere without God is the pattern word that Pastor Edy Ewoh have for all young teenagers and young men and women growing up out there in the world. He has shared his experience, and I do hope it had some impact and impression on your mind, hoping that someday you open up to Jesus and he has his place in your life also. Thank you very much for being a part of the show today. It's been a wonderful experience sharing on the Damascus Encounter. And at the same time, when we bring you a fresher edition of the program, I want to say, keep sticking with God and stay blessed.